Hi there, and welcome back for Heart to Hearts Conversations with Intuitive Women in Business. So, I go out and I encounter wonderful humans in the world who have built businesses in ways that I admire, I find super fascinating, mainly because they're doing it their way, suited to what they desire and their particular missions in the world. And I ask them to sit down and have a conversation with me. And so, in these conversations, I ask them, like, what led you to do whatever you're doing now? What was your journey like? I ask them what helps them make really intentional decisions in their business. How do they resource themselves so they make those decisions from a place that they feel like holds them in an integrity to their values and their ethics? Um, and then I jump in at the end. In the last 30 minutes, we do what I call spiritual play. You're able to see them in their gifts, support me with something, and then you're able to see me support them with something that's coming up for them. And so that's probably one of my favorite parts of these conversations, that you get to be sort of like this third person that encounters people being able to serve each other with what they do in their businesses, because that's often behind closed walls, right? So we're going to go ahead and get started. And I appreciate you being here. And let us know, of course, in the comments if anything comes up for you that you really appreciate, reminds you of something, or you just want to reiterate. We'd love to hear from you. So let's get started. All right. Hello there, my dear. So I'm here with Sabrina Butler, who is a book coach and who I met actually through one of my fabulous masterminds. And she's a lovely human. So I'm excited to speak to you today. I'm going to hand it over to her so she can share with you who she is, what she does, how she serves folks. So go ahead, Sabrina.
Hello. First of all, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here. So I'm Sabrina Estudillo Butler. I am the founder of Unpolished Words. I'm a book coach and an editor. I work with Black and Brown writers, both fiction and nonfiction. And my main thing is helping them go from book idea to actual book, which is a whole big journey.
It's a big ass journey. It could be a very long one too. Um,
True.
Yes, as you all can probably sense, I am a lover of books and reading, and I have not, I'll be honest, not met men. I've not met many book coaches that are like women of color.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I knew of Sabrina, um, is actually because she reached out because she's hosting a summit in a couple of weeks. Um, and then I was like, can I talk to you about all the things? And one of the big things I really wanted her to share was like part of her story of how she like got into being a book coach, because I think that's the beauty of the work that we do, is there's everybody has a different path into that work. And because her mission feels like so close to my heart. I mean, I have a few degrees in literature by and about brown people, and they're really important to me. Um, that I thought it would be really helpful to see another perspective, right? Because I like take in the literature, I analyze it. I do not help people make it. I mean, you would think that I do, but I don't. And I don't long to do that work. It's not my zone of genius. And so I'd love to hear from you, Sabrina. Like, what led you to be a coach specifically in this particular niche? Um, yeah, tell us a little about your journey.
Yeah, that's a good question. The phrasing of it, like in this particular niche, because when I was little, I wanted to be a writer. I was obsessed with books. Um, Very typical, like child of divorce stuff. I escaped into books, and I used to spend Friday nights with my mom. We'd go to Borders because there was one like a couple blocks away from our house, and we
What
would
is
just
Borders?
Borders is the best bookstore to ever exist,
Oh,
but it
I was
but
like,
it
did
no
I miss
longer is.
something? Oh, it doesn't exist at all anymore.
It
Okay.
does not
Oh
exist anymore.
no.
Yeah, it closed down. I don't even know what year it closed down. I think it went bankrupt. Who knows?
Yeah.
I mean, people know, but I don't. Um, Already got sidetracked by myself.
No,
So
by me, because I was like, Borders. So yes, you were talking about Fridays at Borders with your mom.
yeah, so just books, stories, they've always been a big part of my life. And so growing up, I wanted to be an author, but that was not practical to my mom or the other adults in my life. Um,
It
and
rarely
she
is.
was, yeah, and like she's the most supportive person ever. Um, and she suggested maybe I should go into journalism because then I can at least there's a little bit more guarantee to get paid for the writing. So I was like kind of going down that path for a little while. I say going down that path. I was literally in middle school. Like none of the decisions I was making actually mattered, right? But in my head, I was like, okay, this is the trajectory of my life. Um, and then also in middle school, I ended up taking an elective for an intro to architecture class. And then that was the true side quest, the detour of my of my life. um, and that just like became my personality, my like North Star, everything I did from the age of 12 through the age of 25, more than that. I don't know. I can't do math right now, but that was just like my path. So I went to architecture school. It was a 5-year program. And then I got a job in architecture, commercial renovations in a suburb of Chicago where I'm from. And I worked there for 6 years and then 1 year as a contractor. But I used to say that 6 months in, I knew that that was not what I wanted to do.
Like into the job?
Into the job, yeah. And that's
Oh.
what I used to say. And then a few months ago, there was some flooding and it forced me to go back and look. I have like 2 moving boxes full of journals, and each of these journals are full of my life, right? So I found the one that I had when I started that architecture job. And on day 2, I was like, I don't think I can do this. Like, I don't think I want to be here. And then I stayed for 6 years. So I'm saying all of this in answer to your question, like, how did I start book coaching? It was more of a return to what I always wanted, to who I always wanted to be. Because even if I wasn't writing, I knew I wanted to work with books. And it just seemed like, I don't know, out of reach for me, I guess. Um, I didn't know anyone who worked in publishing. I didn't know editors. I didn't know writers. So it was just kind of this faraway land of stuff that happened in the world that had nothing to do with me. But in 2020, actually, I think in 2019, I was like, I think I'm going to start a side business. I'll do proofreading online. There's like zero barrier to entry. I found some random certification course for like how to start a proofreading business. So I did that certification course, right? Like it was just some random woman. but it helped me. And I started my business in September of 2020. I got my first editing client really quickly. It was someone I went to college with. And it didn't like take off after that. But once I got that first hit of like, oh, I can read someone's work and they're going to pay me to read it. And I just get to like nerd out about books and like correct their typos. This is the best thing ever. So that was like my first taste in the publishing industry, I guess. Um, but very quickly after the proofreading, I realized I wanted to work with authors earlier in the process. There were like a couple of memoirs, maybe in, I don't remember what year it was, but like a couple of years into my business that I had copy edited that were good books, but they could have been better. And I was like, it's too late because we're copy editing and we can't go back and change. Like they're on a timeline. And that made me do some research into, okay, well, how do I do this? How do I work with writers earlier? And then I found book coaching, another certification program, and I got certified as a book coach through Author Accelerator, which has certified lots of coaches and is actually very credible. But that was actually the dream. Like I thought the proofreading and the copy editing was like, this is like crack. Like no, talking to authors about their book ideas and just helping them shape them and turn them into actual books. It was amazing. So I did know right away with the book coaching that I wanted to work with BIPOC authors
Mm.
because I don't know, there's a lot of us, but there aren't enough of us at the same time. And
Mhm.
I just feel like our stories, I could personally connect with our stories more easily. And so it was just natural to me. Like, of course, this is who I want to work with. Not that I don't work with white writers, but if I have a choice, which I
What you
do,
do in entrepreneurship.
yeah, yeah.
Mm. So could you talk a little bit about, because some book coaches are real particular.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them only work with certain kinds of like stuff that people write, like fiction, nonfiction, and what led you down the journey to helping whichever or both that you
Yeah.
support people with?
So I started off just with nonfiction because that felt easier to me. It felt like more straightforward. You have an idea, it's a framework, it's about your business, it's about something definite, concrete, factual most of the time. So that seemed like the easier thing to do. Um,
Did you read
and
a lot of nonfiction?
yeah,
Oh, you
I do.
did? Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, because I write
Um,
nonfiction, I don't read a lot of it, but I read a lot of fiction, but I don't write fiction.
it's
So I'm always
I've thought,
fascinated by people's reading versus like the thing they
yeah,
work on. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, that's I have thought about it, and I grew up reading nothing but fiction. And I
Right.
think like maybe sometime in college, definitely early adulthood, just started reading a whole bunch of nonfiction, like personal development books and finance books. And then when I started a business books. And I realized I wasn't reading as much fiction. And then it was like, do you remember who you are? Like you need to fix this. So I'm back on the train of both. But as far as coaching, nonfiction, like I said, just seemed a little bit more straightforward. And I knew I did eventually also want to work with fiction writers, but the specifically coaching the book proposal for nonfiction writers who are trying to get a book deal, that's so much fun for
Oh,
me because
really?
it blends my like I actually really love being a business owner and I nerd out about the entrepreneurial stuff. And the book proposal is your book's business plan. So it's like,
Yeah.
let's just merge the business and the literary and turn it into
Mm.
something amazing. But the whimsy and the imagination and the creativity that comes with fiction was missing. So I was like, okay, we got to expand this a little bit because I want more fun stories to read.
Yeah. Mm. Yeah, I think when we were talking and talking about meeting and having this conversation, there was something really powerful that you said too about, and you said it twice now, like you forgot who you were. And I think that
Mm,
often happens, like we like walk these paths and identify as something or get
yeah.
like thrown into a whirlwind and then um we have to like remember. And so I wonder too, as you consider like your journey moving from being an architect into a business owner, I know personally, like I'm still moving through that transition and it's taken me like 5 years, but I've worked in my industry for 15 before those 5 years and I'm coming on 20. And so it's like a big form of like my identity. And I always say like currency, right? Because as a
Mm,
woman of color, like not many of us have PhDs, not many have more than like a
yeah.
degree or two. And so to remove that, not remove it, but just to say it's like no longer the thing that I stand on in regards to my career and in academia, I don't know what it's like in the architect world, but to go follow this like path of entrepreneurship in the way that I'm doing it, I'm not sure people sort of would take it seriously. I mean, I think the people closest to me do, but whether or not the greater complex of higher ed does, is neither here nor there. Especially because I'm not coaching writing, I'm not doing like the serious whatever
Yeah.
stuff. I'm doing more spiritual stuff. So I give you all that as context to think about like I feel like I'm still in my journey. Like, how do I release this identity in this place that I'm like very connected to and whose mission and values matter to
Mm-hmm.
me, to follow like a different path. And I wonder what that was like for you in that journey and in that transition as you were trying to figure out what you're gonna do.
Yeah. Thank you for that context. While you were talking about all of that, it made me reflect on my time in architecture school specifically because
And BT
the
Dubs,
few
guys, I went to a school that had an architecture school attached to it. Those people like never slept, yo. Like architecture people like are special little cupcakes. Like they're in it, they're there all night. I don't know if that's right or wrong for your experience, Sabrina, but I just knew at my college, like you walk by that school, those lights are on all night. Like people are in
24/7.
it and it's like a form of being. And
Yeah.
you're lucky if you see them after like year one or two. But that was my experience. I don't know if that would be the same,
It's it definitely. So I went to Carnegie Mellon
Mhm.
and it we lovingly and not so lovingly called it architecture school. Um there was a period, I think in my fourth year, where I pulled like 7 all-nighters in like 9 or 10 days. I ended up in the hospital. Wouldn't recommend it. But and I still had to turn in my project that was due. Like there were no,
Right.
I, so yeah, your your experience of witnessing the architecture students at your school, accurate for sure. Um, and so yeah, like I was thinking about architecture school, and I never felt like myself there. And I don't think I could have articulated this at the time at all. But looking back on it, it's like, yeah, that was a weird time. I was working so hard and falling short all the time. And growing up, I was the golden child, the straight A student, the gifted one. And moving into this space of not being good enough and like not being good enough objectively, but also subjectively, because architecture is a very subjective thing. It's
Mm.
art. It's also science and math and like,
Yeah.
structures and whatever. But at the end of the day, if my professors did not like my projects because the concepts didn't make sense to them, or it wasn't aesthetically pleasing, or the renderings I made were kind of ugly, like I would get bad grades. I almost failed out of my architecture program actually, a couple of times. And I kept fighting because that was the path that I chose. And so it's almost like I was trying so hard to fit the identity that I chose rather than the identity that chose me. And even after starting my architecture job and knowing on day 2 that I didn't actually want to be there, I still fought to keep that because it felt like that external validation was just so strong from my parents, my family, my friends, the world at large. Like you
Society and
go
like
to
people
a
value people with titles and
exactly like
specifically ones where you like have to go to school and certify and things.
yeah, like I got my license. I studied for like, I don't know, another 4 or 5 years and got my architecture license after I graduated. And so like you go and you meet strangers and they're like, what do you do? And you say, you're an architect. And they're like, oh my God, that's so cool. Meanwhile, it's not like I was making crazy money. I wasn't like Frank Lloyd Wright or Frank Gehry or any of the other Franks. I don't know if there's more Franks, but like I wasn't like doing these big things. I live in Chicago. I was not designing skyscrapers. I was designing nail salons and chiropractic offices and like in strip malls, which is fine. Like, I'm not saying one is better than the other, but people have this image in their head of what an architect is, or insert whatever prestigious title is. And it's intoxicating to like be on the receiving end of that admiration. So when I decided that I wanted to try something in publishing, I knew that I wanted to do that, but it was so hard to let go of I'm an architect. It took a good, so I started my business in 2020 and I quit my architecture job in 2022. On February 22nd, 2022, actually.
Love that you know the
It was
exact date.
because it was all twos. I was like, this is it. This is
Ah,
the day.
dudes. I love it.
But it took, I don't know, at least a couple of years, even after I quit my job, to probably more than 2 years actually, because I quit in 2022, and then a couple months later, my boss asked me to come back as a contract worker for one specific client, and I was like, steady money, yes, let's do that,
Mhm.
while I continue to build my business. So I actually like total my architecture career was about 7 years, maybe a little over 7 years. And it took so long for me to stop introducing myself to people as I'm Sabrina. I used to be an architect, but now I'm a book coach. Like, what was the reason? Who cares? So I think part of the transition, the identity transition, was time. Part of it was literally just like, okay, how long can you really say this? It's been over a year since the last time you touched CAD and like designed some drawings for someone. Like, what are you really an architect? And I could argue yes, because I still had my license.
I was like, technically, you could say it till you have a degree in art.
um,
You could technically,
exactly.
yeah.
I do still.
Mhm.
I don't still say I'm an architect, but like that part of me is not gone. I trained for
Yeah.
so freaking long. The knowledge is there. If I go
Yeah.
back, I could go back and be like, I'm going to get an architecture job.
Yeah.
I might have trouble explaining the gap, but like, you know,
Yeah.
that identity is not gone, but it really needed to take a back seat. Like I had to detach I guess a little bit the importance, but just like I had to detangle myself from it. And it was hard to do because of how much time I spent saying I was an architect and that I was going to be an architect, literally from the age of 12, like I said. But also because I didn't yet feel like a book coach. I didn't yet feel like a proper editor. I didn't go to school for writing or publishing or any of those things. I felt like an imposter. Even though I'm great at what I do, and I was good at what I did, even when I was feeling these things, it was still so hard to just own it. I don't know if I answered your question, but those are
You
the
did.
thoughts.
Yeah. And what were some of the things you think that led you to be able to own it? Because I think sometimes we give ourselves these like goalposts of like, I will believe I'm a business owner when. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. And when
so,
never comes.
or it comes, but you keep moving it,
True.
right?
Yeah.
And so I wonder if that was happening for you, or if you felt it when you finally moved into it full time, or for some time, like in some moments, I imagine it's like, oh, like when I'm in a session with someone, like, oh, right, I do something very different than I've spent 15 years doing.
Yeah.
So it may come in different flashes, but yeah, I was wondering, like, was there like a particular moment, or is it just like slowly in the building of this thing?
I wonder now I want to like go back into my journals and actually watch my progression and be like, when did I stop
Yes.
like waffling about who I am?
Ooh.
Um, I don't think there's ever a full on stop about that waffle. Like we're constantly evolving, but
Yeah.
between the architect and the book coach, I'm curious.
Yeah.
I don't know that there was a specific moment. I think when I first quit my job, that weekend, we had a wedding to go to, my husband and I. And so I was like, this is my first day as a self employed person, and I'm getting on a plane and I'm going here, and there's this beautiful wedding, and it's like, freedom is amazing. And then the weekend ended, and Monday started, and I was like, what? Can I curse?
Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
we'll see what YouTube does, but you can. Okay.
Because I was like, what the fuck did I just do? Like,
Mm,
I'm in charge of myself now. Like, who let me do this? But also, if you want to get down to it, I was a terrible employee. Like, I had a life coach probably like 1 or 2 years before I actually quit my job. And I was complaining about my job. The job itself was fine. It just was not a fit for me. And I was trying to make it a fit. And um, I remember saying, like, I feel like such a terrible employee. And my life coach was like, you are. Like, why are you? Like, you are. You don't want to be there.
you
You
hired a good one there.
procrastinate. She was
She
right.
wasn't letting you get away with anything there.
She really was not. And it took a while for that to really, I probably honestly not until after I quit my job, but I was like, you know what? Yeah, every job I've ever had, I bring my journal to work. My journal has butterflies, by the way.
Ah,
But I bring my journal to work. And when I can't focus, I will just start writing. And next thing you know, it's been like 30 minutes and I'm just writing and not doing work. Like stuff like that would happen all the time. And I just don't think I was meant to actually work for other people. But being in charge of myself was also so freaking hard.
mm.
So
Why do you say
to
that?
get back, um, because I felt like I didn't know what I was doing.
Mm,
But I will say, because of my like being my straight A student mindset, we'll call it, when it came to the business side of things, I knew it was just a matter of I got to just learn the stuff. I'll work with a business coach. I'll take whatever online courses I can. I will Google a million things if I have to. Like, I want to learn these things because I'm a nerd at heart and I like learning those things. But when it came to book coaching stuff and mentoring authors and kind of being the one in charge at that point, it felt like I would only be able to say that I was like a successful book coach once one of my authors was published.
ooh, that's a big ass goalpost. if you're working with people early on in the process, because it could take a little while for them to finish, for them to then put it out and then get offer.
Exactly. And I have no control over any of that. So
Oh,
why
yep.
would I make that my goalpost, right?
Well, because society made it the goalpost. So
Exactly.
yeah.
It's like, I don't know. And I would have even like with some editing clients, they'd ask me like, "Oh, what books have you worked on? Like, what books are published that you've worked on?" And I'm like, first of all, I don't know that I can actually share what books I've edited unless the author shares that stuff. If it's an indie author, like that's not my place. What's the word? It's not privacy, but whatever, that.
Yeah.
And then when it comes to book coaching clients, it's like you said, whether they're traditionally publishing or self-publishing, it's still going to take a long ass time. So I couldn't point to anything and say like, "Oh, this book, I helped this author write this book."
Mhm.
So I always felt like a fraud when someone asked me that question, and I had to say, nothing you like, nothing yet, nothing yet for years, nothing yet. And then at some point, again, I don't know when, I was like, I can't keep using that as my goalpost because I can't control it. So I think when I did my rebrand, because originally my business was named Polished Words, because I was like, copy editing, proofreading, I'm polishing your words. And then I was like, perfectionism is stupid. We're going to unpolish the words.
Love it.
Like, show up as your unpolished self. So when I rebranded in 2023 to Unpolished Words and like made a whole new website and got professional branding done, and I like took a website copywriting course and everything just felt more professional. That's when I was like, okay, I'm in this. I'm serious about this. I'm doing this. Whether or not other people see me as serious, like I know that I'm in this. And
Which is fascinating because you said 2023. You started in
mm,
2020 in 2020.
yeah,
So you've been
yeah.
working with clients probably and doing work for 3 years
Mm-hmm.
before you're like, oh, this is me.
Yeah. And that's a whole year after doing it full time too.
Right. Yeah.
So
Wow. It's amazing the
yeah,
mind.
it took a while.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there
Mm.
was also like, I don't think I ever did like a specific meditation on like, you know, uh, embodying my identity as a book coach. Like that was not a thing. But just to ground myself in general, because there was a lot of anxiety and a lot of stress around that time. And honestly, still now, but it
Mhm.
was a different kind. Like meditating helped a lot. Started doing hypnotherapy, I think possibly in 2024. That helped a lot too. That was more business based in general, like general business stuff. But again, it just felt like I was slowly unlocking some things and like uncovering just my inner power. Like you are capable of doing things. You are capable of being in charge of yourself and like succeeding. Like you can do this. You can do hard things. You can do whatever you want.
And when you encounter other more difficult moments in business, do you have like practices that you do now that are like your go-to? That like if you have to make a decision about something in your business, and it may be something not like huge, huge, but big. Um, are there any that you use that you feel like really help you?
I journal a lot.
Mm.
That's how I process my thoughts and my feelings. Um,
Are you one of those that like mainly because I teach writing, I could ask all the detailed questions. Are you like one of
yeah,
those people who does like just like just write like morning pages, just go and then see what falls and that helps? Or do you like do certain writing exercises and stuff like that or prompts? Because some people are very
yeah.
particular about their journaling practice.
I went through a phase of being really particular. I've been journaling since I think since I learned to write. Like I was 6 years old, stapling sheets of loose leaf paper together to like make myself a diary.
Oh my
I
God,
don't
I
know
love
why I
it.
didn't just use a notebook,
I
but
love it.
um so I've always been more of a stream of consciousness kind of journaler. Like sometimes it's what's going on in the day. Sometimes it's more deep about my feelings. Some journals from middle school are all about the boys I had crushes on. Some boys have multiple journals dedicated to them. Like it's always just been
Love it.
whatever.
Yeah.
But there was a phase. I think actually when after I quit architecture, I was like, I need some sort of structure because now everything's just up in the air.
Mhm.
And I joined a journaling program that had like daily prompts and a specific way to answer the prompts. Like it wasn't just answer the question, it was, I don't remember it was called Faith Activated. The founder of it actually has passed away, but it was this community of women who would come together and journal. And I think part of it had to do with like future scripting.
Yummy stuff.
And so like yeah, I would do that. So there was a prompt for the day, and then I would write down like the first stuff that came to mind, and then I would um there was like some middle part that I don't even remember anymore, and then there was the future scripting piece, and it was like okay, that was it. And that was all I did. Like there was no more stream of consciousness journaling. And I think I did that for maybe a year, maybe a little less than a year. And at some point I was like, this is the worst thing ever. I'm going to look back on these journals and not know what was going on in my life. And I hate that.
Oh my God, I love how honest you are. You're like, not gonna be fun to look back
uh,
at.
and it wasn't actually the worst thing ever. I'm just a dramatic person sometimes. But
I mean,
um,
those of us who love books have a flair for the dramatic, so
facts,
yes.
big facts. Um, but yeah, so like there was a point when I was really rigid, like structured with it. Um, and I think it was helpful for that season until that season ended. And then my brain, like I said, was like, I'm not doing this anymore. So now when I journal, there's no prompts, there's no anything. Sometimes, like if I'm meditating, a question will pop into my head. And then I'm like, okay, time to journal about this. And I'll write the question down and start responding to it. But for the most part, it's just like, what am I feeling? What's on my mind? I tried to do morning pages. I tried to do the artist way. I think I got
I
like,
didn't try. I think I attempted, and I was like, no, don't tell me what to do. Um, I
yeah,
did morning
right.
pages, but I'm like, I've done this form of writing for a long time. I haven't always done it in the morning per se, but I tried to. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't always. I have a dear friend who like loves it. And I'm like, I tried two things. I don't want to go. I don't like to be told what to do for my creative.
I love that. Don't tell me what to do.
Even though I'm a
Uh,
teacher, I love telling people what to do. I love telling me what to do.
that is so funny. Yeah, I don't know. I noticed when I tried it,
Mhm.
like it stopped me from writing the rest of the day. Like I sometimes I would struggle to fill the 3 pages, and then I'm just like, "Fuck this, I don't want to do it anymore." Like
Um,
journal's going away, we're done.
And what
So
I
that
hear about
also,
your practice too is that you're journaling, because the thing with morning pages is that it is like very set on morning,
mm-hmm.
right? Like you
Because
wake
like your
up to dump
brain's
it
not
on the
awake.
page
Yeah,
at a time, which is so funny because I think based on my other practices, I haven't always gone to the page in the morning because the morning is actually a little bit better than other times in the day. So I will do
yeah,
another practice. Only like when I learned about that one, do I do it now more often? But even now, I don't think I fill that many pages. But it sounds like your journaling practice is like at any point of the day.
yeah,
And I think that's one thing I was like, I was overseeing a membership about writing specifically. I closed it and I learned a lot from other people who were like, oh yeah, I write this time, this time. I'm like, what? Like you stop your workday, yo, and you like journal, yo. Meanwhile, like I teach writing and I don't do that. Like I will express myself in like poetry and like other kinds of freaking writing, but I won't be like, let me take out my journal and like write in the middle of my workday after something. Like it's just not
yeah,
how I've trained myself, although I think it's quite beautiful. I'm like, oh, maybe I need, when somebody said, I was like, oh, I need to expand my mind. Journaling can happen anytime anyway. Because for me, it's like I'm at the park or it's like morning
yeah.
or night. It's like no other time in the day. But it sounds like the practice for you is like whenever. Do you feel like you do it at least once a day or you do it a couple of times? Like, how does it
Yeah,
work
I
for you?
mean, there are some days where I don't do any,
Yeah.
but for the most part, yeah, it's a couple times a day. I do journal multiple times a day. I started to laugh because it bothers me to not have a separation where it's like this was, this morning I journaled and then I came back a few hours later. If there's no indicator that like time passed, it bothers me. So when I was a kid, I would literally write later dot dot dot
Oh
and then
my God,
start
I
writing
love
whatever happened. I've evolved. Now there's just a little symbol so that I know. But
that. Oh my
but it's
goodness.
still, yeah, like it happens at any point. And sometimes if I don't actually have my journal with me, I'll just like start typing a note in my phone. Like I have to get the words out somehow.
Do you feel
Um,
like a lot of your expression is in writing more so than like verbal and spoken or in other modalities?
yeah, there was earlier today actually, I was feeling really emotional and I was avoiding work, so I was like out and about running errands. And I got home and I was sitting in the car and I was like, just need to say stuff. Sorry, there's like a little gnat flying around here. I
Gross.
just need to say stuff. So I was literally right outside my house, but I didn't come inside and journal. Instead, I opened up my camera on my phone and just started recording like a vlog for myself that I'm never gonna post anywhere. But occasionally it's like, no, I just need to say the things because sometimes when I'm writing, it feels like I need to find the perfect words.
Mm.
And that doesn't happen very often, but like with what I was feeling earlier today, it felt like I've been thinking these thoughts for weeks and I haven't figured out how to say them to write them down. So let me
Mm.
just ramble and see what happens. And it helped,
Mm. Mm.
but that's definitely less frequent than the journaling.
Mm. And do you, in your work with clients, do you feel like that's also something you encourage them to do, like the journaling, because it's writing for you? Like, do you give them certain practices and things to
Yeah,
work on because
I
that's just natural for you?
yeah, I don't know if I've ever recommended journaling specifically, but people, particularly my fiction writers, or nonfiction who are writing like personal essays and stuff, will talk about feeling blocked or I don't know, just like unsure of themselves and what they want to write. And I don't typically recommend journaling, but I recommend smaller creative practices like go to a park, people watch, find someone, and just write a little vignette about just make something up, literally a paragraph. Like it doesn't have to be more than that, doesn't have to be good. Just kind of get the muscles loose. That's more the kind of stuff that I recommend. I also will recommend speaking, like dictate your story. You don't have to literally write it down or type it up.
So
Story
good.
is story, just like say it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when people try to translate something to the written page, like all the other words and the pretense and all this stuff shows up in ways, at least what I've seen, even in just
Mm-hmm.
academic writing. It's just really interesting to see the change between someone communicating their idea verbally to me, and then I just
Yeah.
type it. Um, and then they're like, I said that. I was like, you did though. So this is your argument. Go use it now. Like we are complete. Um,
Yeah.
because I think for some of us, like we need that moment of processing verbally for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. As we close out our interview portion, I'm wondering if you should talk a little bit about the summit that you have coming up and like sort of where it came from, why you wanted to do it. I mean, there's clearly business like
Yeah.
strategical things that people do for certain reasons, but I think the intention that you put into the summit, and the folks that you reached out to is just super fascinating. I have attended, been a part of quite a few different summits, and there will be like a lot of people on the docket. Um, and it just will be all over the place. And I'm like, where do I look? And what is the point of this? And besides like there's a lot of people talking on all these topics, and sometimes they're not differentiated enough. Um, Sometimes you don't know or understand like that facilitator and like that host's particular zone of like genius. And so I wonder what led you to go the route of doing a summit. What is it you're really hoping people will get out of that?
Yeah. Thank you for asking about it. So, the mission of my business is to add more color to the bookshelves. That's through writers of
Love
color
it.
writing books. Like, I want a future where our books are as revered as the canonical classics by the old dead white guys. Like that, I say this all the time.
Yes. Breaking my brain.
And
Sorry.
and
I have
you're
years
fine.
of the English canon. I'm like,
Exactly. And like it's not like we don't have
oh
classics
yeah.
written by Black and brown writers, right?
Yeah.
But there need to be more.
Yep.
So that's like the greater mission behind everything that I do. It's why I decided to work with BIPOC authors. Like this is what I want. for the world and selfishly for myself. So I think we're amazing. The summit, I've been to a few different writing summits. I spoke at 4 last year, and they're always great. Like, they have great information. Some of the speakers are like really funny, and their presentations are engaging, and like there's always positives. The one negative that I can't help but notice is that there are not enough BIPOC faces in the speakers lineup specifically.
Exactly. That is one of the biggest problems. That you would
Yeah.
imagine because we're online, it wouldn't be a problem. But let me tell you, most summits, I'm like, where are people of color? You'll see one
Yes.
Asian, one Black. I don't think I've seen Latino last names anywhere. So it is just nowhere to be found.
Literally. And then sometimes I'll be like, that person looks like they could be Latina. Is that the
Mm,
married name? I don't know.
exactly. Is it
Like
the
they're
married
so
name? That is the big question, Sabrina. Yes, exactly.
so I've been thinking about this event for a long time. Like, I've been in business for 6 years,
Ooh,
probably the last like three at least. I've been thinking about this summit, but never feeling equipped enough to actually run it. And I was finally like, okay, enough is enough. Like, you just gotta freaking do it. It's like, it's not that it's not, it's definitely hard, but you can do hard things. You can figure out all the moving pieces and whatever. So the first thing I knew was this speaker lineup is going to be all people of color. That is like the main thing. From there, I um, thought about my audience, what audience I wanted to attract, like what would they actually need, and that question has so many different answers. I was like, this is my first summit. It's kind of an experiment. Let's keep it pretty broad, which is actually not great summit advice. You're supposed to be a little bit more specific. But I was like, whatever,
I know
experiment.
you're like super specific in who you're reaching. And I think that's what I think people forget when
Exactly.
they're like niche down even further. I'm like, yeah, but if your niche is like BIPOC people, only
Mhm.
BIPOC presenters, it already niches it like a great amount. I think
Exactly.
people wouldn't think that, but it does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I decided to like the topic itself. The topic is planning, writing, and publishing a book. So again, the entire process, like that's so many things fit into that.
Right.
We only have, I think we're gonna have 16 presentations. Um,
Only like that's not a lot. Like what?
well, compared to the summits I was in last year, they had
Oh,
like
they had like
30,
30? Oh,
30,
oof.
40 speakers. Like,
Oof.
it was a lot. And I personally find that overwhelming, especially with the whole like the presentation is going to expire in 24 hours. I'm like, who has time
So
for this?
stressful.
That's a thing I'm not doing, by the way. The presentations will expire at the end of a
But you
week.
have more than a day to watch them.
Yeah, like you've got a whole week to watch. You can
Yeah.
have a whole year if you like upgrade or whatever.
Yeah.
But the goal is really just to get writers of color in community with each other. Like, I want us to be in the same space. There's going to be an Instagram broadcast channel that's going to function like a giant group chat. Basically, it's like,
Yeah.
let's just meet. And then there's
Yeah.
the co-writing, the live co-writing sessions where again we'll be able to meet each other. But what I want people to take away from the summit is that it's not impossible to be a person of color and successful at this. It's it comes with its own unique challenges, but it's very those challenges are able to be overcome. And so I want them to be inspired and encouraged, but also have actionable, like tangible things to do. So the first day is all about planning. Some of that will be mindset stuff, but some of it's also very specific. The second day will be all about writing, so drafting and revising. Again, some craft stuff, a little bit of mindset stuff. And then the third day is publishing. Not gonna lie, I feel like there's not enough publishing talks. I'll figure that out. We still got a little bit of time. But that's again just like, all right, you've written the book, you've revised the book. Like, how do you get it out there? How do you build an author platform? Like, what things can you do to ensure your success? So those are like topically the things, but really the main thing is community. It's like, I want you to come together and just be with people who understand your life experience and like get the different challenges that you as a writer of color experience just by being a writer of color.
Hmm.
To make it a little less isolating.
Yeah. I also imagine like being in that community is like you can believe that you're capable of doing that thing. There's so many people who are so bright. And
Yeah.
I'm like, what you mean you think you can't do this? This is easy in comparison to the shit you've done. Like
Yeah.
there's just like brilliant women I've met, and they're just like, I'm like, do you know who you are? And there are things, right? Like that planning and the writing mindset, like really gets people because they come from histories with writing that I used to call it writing trauma. I mean, it
Hmm.
is like I used to have a whole YouTube channel that was like, time out, like, we got to get real about what people told you about your writing and what was true and what was
Yes.
not true. Because I'm
Yep.
quick to be like, some of it might be true, yo, but you got to decide, do you give a crap about that? Do you want to change that? Or does it not matter? Or is it like really important for you to account for so people could understand your
Hmm.
writing? But we can't like sit here and walk and be like, oh, there's nothing
Yeah.
that I don't have to consider as I write this thing because people have like just schooling itself has changed the way people connect with and understand writing. Like you
Yes.
and our love of writing is like I told people all the time, I was like, I don't care what anybody thinks. I'm writing this because I want to express myself, yo. And I knew
Hmm.
even in school when they told me it was never good enough, I was like, I don't care. I love this thing. I'm gonna go home and write this shit because it makes me feel good. And other people are quick to be like, oh no, that just means it's not meant to. I'm like, says who? I don't get the award. I don't get the praise. I mean, sometimes I got it, but most of the time it was not happening.
Hmm.
I mean, I left with like maybe a B, low B average in like English. And people are like, I'm not super gifted according to the standard that I was being held to. But that does not mean that sort of like took away my love of it. Cause it was like, no,
Right.
reading and writing is my life. Like you're not gonna sit here and label it according to some stupid grade that has to meet some requirement.
Yeah.
Um,
Like, who
and
set that
so
standard? Not
yeah,
us.
no, not us. Mm-mm, mm-mm. And so I'm glad that the summit will give people a way to be with other people and especially like other experts who are also people of color.
Hmm.
Because I think they just like get it. They'll get it without
Yeah.
even having to communicate much. And I think that's really hard to find in the coaching world. Um,
Yeah.
you have to
It
find like really
is.
special people who you don't have to do all that work with to be like, yeah, but don't you get it? I'm a little different because there are
It's
these
kind of
other
like,
things.
yeah, it's kind of like when you start with a new therapist and you
Hmm.
got to explain your whole life story. It's like, what if you didn't have to do that though? What if you could just explain the story that you're writing and not have to explain the racism in the story that you're writing because the other person just gets it? Like,
Or you don't have to defend why you don't want to translate something, right? Because like I write
mm-hmm.
in Spanish, and that was all my schooling too. Um,
Yep.
and it's fascinating. So you guys have to come to the summit. There'll be a link for you to join us.
Yeah. It's August
Um,
13th through the 15th. I don't think I said that before.
no, I don't think either of us did. So August 13th to 15th, the link will be below. Register, come join us. Is there anywhere else they can find you that you would love to send them to keep up to date
Yeah.
with you
Honestly, my newsletter is probably the thing I am the most consistent with.
as a
So,
writer? Yes.
right. So it's unpolishedwords.com/subscribe. That's the
We'll put the link
opt-in to
down
my
there.
newsletter.
Yeah.
It's called the M dash because that's my favorite punctuation mark.
Oh, you
So,
must have a lot to say about AI and the M dash, but we won't go there today. Um,
you know, I'm just like, look, don't talk to me about it. I'm not changing the name. I'm not gonna stop using it.
you
It's
shouldn't.
fine.
No, it's a magical. For you, it's the M dash. I was thinking the other day how much I love the semicolon. I was
It's
like, I'll
so
have to
pretty.
write like an ode to the semicolon because it's just so good. I love that thing. Thus were nerds who love punctuation. But
Yeah.
yeah. So the M dash,
Yeah.
Sabrina's newsletter, get on there. Um, that's the last thing I wanted to share. No, I think that's it. So we'll transition now. Do you want to support me? And then I'll end with supporting you because you're sort of in
Um,
like a groove.
let's do that.
Yeah, okay. So as Sabrina pulls up whatever she's pulling up, it looks like she's pulling up some stuff. I can
I just like took a couple of notes. It's not anything
fabulous.
crazy.
Oh, okay. You let me know what you might have me share. So,
Okay.
for the next like 15 minutes, Sabrina's gonna coach me on this book idea that I have. And I like to say an idea, but that's bull crap because there's like 70 pages to this thing.
Okay,
It's
that
not
was
a
one of my
freaking
questions.
idea, yo. Like
Oh,
it's a book in making, with like, and in those 70 pages, there's like 5 pages of other stories I have to write. It's like so I am lying to myself when I say it's an idea. It is not an idea. It is in
no,
draft form.
maybe does referring to it as an idea make it more approachable for you? Like if it was a full-on draft, would you stop working on it?
No, I think it's the notion that I'm doing something That's going to be my own that the Academy doesn't get to legitimize. So I'm like,
Mhm.
it's an idea. To them, it'll always be an idea. Even when the book is there. Like I could hit the New York Times bestsellers list, which I'm not interested in, slash am interested in, and it would still feel like I'm hoping it won't feel that way. But I think because I'm such a snob with literature, like people are like, oh, it's on the list. I'm like, it wasn't until like 2 years ago I was like, oh, I should care about that list. Like I was born and bred in this environment where it's like, no,
Yeah.
like this is good literature. Like I have wonderful friends who are like, oh, this is my book at the beach. I was like, don't come at me with this. Like, I'm not gonna read that shit. Like I'll watch it when it's made into a movie, right? Because I think that shit's amazing. But
Yeah.
don't tell me I'm gonna pick up this book and think I'm gonna be told that I'm a person who reads those kind of books. So it's taken me like 4 years to like be into the nonfiction route that's more like not like traditional nonfiction taught at the institutional level. That's like this very long
Mhm.
memoir thing, or more heavy research thing. So I think that's the thing. It's like, oh, it's an idea because it's just if I say it's anything more, I don't know. I think I'm still trying to, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's fair. I'm gonna leave that alone. We might come back to that, but
Fabulous, fabulous. So the question I
um,
think I asked Sabrina was like, I'm in the middle of this book and I just entered a new like chapter area where like I was led to write about this. And the book is about knowing and how I learned about my own intuition throughout my life. And so there are different essays of different points in which I knew things before I was supposed to know them. Um, and I just hit a chapter in which I'm like giving people an exercise that I did to like refine my own intuition. It's really quite a silly chapter. I call it silly because I'm like, wow, this is like a game that I played when I was taking public transit for like a year, or even like 6 months. And I was like, but this is how I was testing my intuition. And I encourage you to like make your development and like mastery of understanding your own intuition like into a game because the point is that it's not supposed to be so serious. Um, and so I asked Sabrina, I was like, that's like the first foray I've gone into like teaching mode or something. The others are just personal essays. And there might be moments where I'm like talking at the reader of like consider this or something. But I think my question for Sabrina had to do with like, how do I balance both of those things, knowing that in my business, I will have an offer that's related to the topic of the book, but I don't want to like I don't build curriculum and like programs without people. And so I don't really intend to put that in the book until I've done it. Um, and I hope the book comes out before I do all that or it's before all that. So I was asking her like how do I balance that in creating the book? I think that was my question.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah. Okay.
that's what I remember.
Okay. Good.
Okay, so the first thing I had a question that I wanted to ask you first, but I'm gonna ask a different one.
Okay.
Did you see other people in your life in tune with their knowing,
Hmm.
like growing up?
There are some there's some chapters and ideas I have that I haven't written out about the way I've observed my nieces who are quite young and
Mhm.
like what kind of knowing they each have.
Okay.
Um, but I actually I don't think I talk about other people's knowing and the way I might have observed theirs.
Okay.
Yeah. Although that is fascinating. I've been thinking about stuff. But I did do it for my nieces because when I went to visit them like a few months ago, I was like, each one, it's interesting to see like what they know. Like one of them is like
Hmm.
very body based, so you can like see that versus another one. I'm like, oh, this is fascinating. But they were like the first foray into that.
Okay. I asked because there was something you had written about this project kind of being the first thing you're writing for yourself.
Hmm.
And it got me thinking about what reader you intend to read this.
Hmm.
um, because the question I was going to ask was like, well, what version of you are you writing this for? And is it the same as your ideal reader?
Yeah. I think I'm so early on, I haven't really thought about reader. I'm like those
Mm-hmm.
people in my community who care about their intuition and paying attention to it and being connected to it will pick it up. But that's such a good question. And it's funny because I had not imagined any younger version of myself reading it.
Okay.
Yeah, I had not intended in any way that it would support her. I don't really know how it would. Um,
Yeah, I mean that's
yeah,
totally fine.
yeah.
Okay.
But the person, that second question, like, who would I imagine reading? I'm like, oh, it'd be cool for, I was thinking like an older teenager in college moving into their beginning of adulthood is more like
Mhm.
when you said that, I was like, that's the kind of woman I sort of seeing picking this up and figuring out things. But yeah, that's sort of what came intuitively.
Okay. And then I asked that question. I'm going to bring it back to the first one I asked because when I work with people, one of the first things we do is figure out who their ideal reader is.
Mhm.
And for a lot of people, that is kind of a stretch for them to think about because no matter what genre you're writing, like when you write the first draft, people say it all the time, like the first draft is you telling yourself the story.
Yeah.
I don't exactly subscribe to that. I totally see the merit in it, but I'm a planner and I suggest planning. So I'm like, yes, the story is for you. And assuming you want to publish it for other people's eyes, like you have to consider them a little bit, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Yeah.
And so
I think
in
it's also like a fair question for those people who want like, because for me, like building my business is like 50% writing.
mm-hmm,
Like I do the other stuff in service to the writing.
yeah,
So it's a good question to be with. Yeah.
yeah, because like you have to know who you're talking to and specifically how they want to be communicated with.
Mm,
And so my initial question of like, did you ever watch, like, were you observing other people knowing when you were growing up? That was tied to I was making up a story that there was some younger version of you that would want or need this book. And
mm.
so like would witnessing you, like your reader witnessing you in these moments that you're sharing in your personal essays, would that be enough for them to pick up on what it is you're trying to convey? Like, would they be able to say, "Oh, I can approach my own knowing in this way just by reading those stories," or would they need it to be more explicitly laid out, like in this new chapter you're talking about?
From my teaching experience, I get a sense the youngins need like step by step.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because things can be a little dense unless they're like it's like very specific, at least from my teaching experience.
Mm-hmm.
And I work at a community college and it's an open access institution. And sometimes I think it's, yeah, that kind of directed, like providing the exercise is kind of helpful for them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, I don't, it's so funny the way you put it. Because it's, I think I've been, and it's funny because maybe that's something I have to also communicate in the book, which I do in one or two chapters. It's like knowing in the sense of intuition, but it's also knowing as its connection to wisdom. Because there's one of these like, white male philosophers has like a series of books on different topics, and one of them is about wisdom. And I kept looking at it. I think I have it somewhere. And I was like, but women's wisdom is different. Like, what is, and he talks about it really
Yeah.
interestingly. And so when you say that, I'm like, there is, I've spent a lot of my life just watching women live their life and then communicate the wisdom from the experience. And
Mm-hmm.
that to me is like a certain form of knowing. That's why I say it's like intuitive knowing, but like I talk about like all different forms, those that come from experience, those that come from other people. And I think that's what I spent
Mm-hmm.
my life doing is just like watching and observing people and noticing the way that they take in the world
Yeah.
and how they learn because I'm such a fascinated like I'm fascinated by the process of like learning out like in life um that I think watching them is what um create that wisdom and then the way they pass it on and for what reason and from what place it comes from is really kind of fascinating but I haven't really touched that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But you also mentioned that you didn't really want it to be like a strict, in-depth, step-by-step guide. Like that's not really the vibe.
Mm-mm.
That you didn't want it to be, but it also doesn't seem like the book itself wants to be that.
No. Mm-mm. They want to like because I do the book like very much in touch with my guides, and it's very clear like the goal is just to speak about my life from like my soul voice, not this
Mm-hmm.
other voice Like this is one of the few books where I've like actually seen my voice on the page. I'm like, wow, that's a real, it's so far from what I've been for so long.
That
Um,
academic.
yeah, that
Yeah.
academic, and then also like for me, what the other reason I love writing is because it's very purposeful and functional. It
Mhm.
has to exist within a context for it to make sense, whether it's just a
Yeah.
text conversation or a proposal or a book, right? Um, and so like I often look at it that way, and they're like, "No, you're just telling stories," and I'm like, "Yeah, but," and so part of it is that the book doesn't really want to be um that kind of manual, but I have a feeling they want me to play with like the form too. And I think that's what I
Mm,
love about knowing that I can make this whatever I want based
yeah.
on whatever parameters. That like if I want to think about certain chapters and do the chapters have like a question or an exercise and each like
Mhm.
section has that and it could be like throughout, like that feels like a fun, interesting way to approach it. Or like, and if that's there, then maybe there's a separate section where they could find other ones too. And
Mhm.
that plays with the form of just like what I've seen, nonfiction, sometimes self-help can just be like their method is in the story and it's kind of
Yeah.
boring, at least to me.
Yeah.
And that's not what I'm aiming for.
Okay.
Yeah.
I am glad you brought up structure because that was one of the other things I had written down. I was thinking about a few different things, but like when we look at regular memoir, like just straight narrative memoir, there are lessons. Like we're reading the story to learn not
Yeah.
just about this person, but like how they dealt with whatever they dealt with, right?
Right.
I can see that being boring. I've definitely read some boring memoirs. um, but I also think storytelling itself is powerful. And for some people, that is the best way for them to learn. Like it just
Mm-hmm.
lights, like something in their brain goes off and it's like, okay, I get it.
Mm-hmm.
For some other people, they're never going to get it. They just like,
Yeah.
that's not how they consume and under and like process things.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the other potential structures I was thinking about for what you're talking about is like, okay, well, maybe you tell all the stories, you have all the personal essays, and then there's like an appendix or like some sort of part two to the book that's like, all right, let's dive in and figure out what the hell we just experienced. Like when this thing happened, this is like this is I feel like this is a little bit too simplistic, but like this is the takeaway here. Here's how you can achieve something similar for yourself. Like
Mm-hmm.
that feels a little bit dry to me,
Mm-hmm.
but it would be very clear and you'd be
Right.
able
Yeah.
to explicitly explain like what the point was for the reader.
Mm-hmm.
I what you mentioned, like maybe some of the chapters or all the chapters have a reflection question. There's journal prompts, there's different exercises. Like I think that is a familiar enough structure where people could read that and understand what to do with it.
Yeah.
Where I think there could be some downfalls with that is if it's inconsistent, because then that
For
pulls up the
sure.
question of like, well, why, how come there's nothing with this essay, like with this experience? Why
Mm-hmm.
is that only a her thing? Or like, can I not do this too? Like, it just, you know,
They also make me wonder too, because they're going to be, I have a sense right now the structure is like different sections, and that maybe it's based on sections rather than just the
yeah.
chapters.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because I think that feels more what I'm aiming for.
Yeah.
Because some of the essays are real short and some of them are longer. So yeah.
You could also alternate, like if you want a whole chapter with an essay, no matter how long or short it is, and the next chapter is like all reflection, all exposition essentially, and like let's explain what we just saw. And you can go back and forth. Like there's so many different ways you can do it. I do think letting yourself play
Mm.
is it sounds like you are the type of person who discovers things as you write.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's like I think that's awesome.
Yeah. And I think that's mostly, and it's like my resistance against the academic powers that be, because before you sit to write a paper, you know what you have to produce. Um, And I'm like, I don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
I want to do this my way. And then see what happens. Because I think the magic is found along the way too.
Yeah.
But in this conversation with you as well, I realized like, oh, there's a lot of structure built in here that I didn't
It
really think
sounds
was
like it.
there. And I was like, oh, oh. And then there's like other fun things I want to do. Um,
Mm-hmm.
that I won't give away because I think it's so special. I'll tell you when we turn the camera off, but I don't
Okay,
want to tell
cool.
people because
I'm
I
like,
think
I'm
it's
too
just
nosy for you to be dropping hints like this.
no. I was like, because I think that's what makes my like creative spirit so happy is to like challenge the form of what we know.
Yeah.
Um, and for a book about knowing, like we have to talk about the power of what it means to not really know anything, because that's the truth. Is like we actually don't know much. I have 3 degrees, and I still can tell you I'm not like I don't like. The more I learn, the more I realize I was never going to learn the
Yeah.
depth of things, right?
And
Um,
that's what makes you wise, that you understand that.
hmm, fascinating. I would not have considered that, um, but yeah. And so what I hear from you now too is like go on the journey and see what happens while also remembering who the reader is and what they might
Yeah.
need or what I want them to get out of it.
Do you,
Um, yeah.
do you have a sense of how much there's left to write of the book? Like, is it almost done?
Between me and you, if I had the wherewithal, I could probably get it done in like 2 weekends. Like a
Mhm.
draft, because right now it's like 60, 70 pages. I think it's gonna be another single spaced. I think it'll be another like 60, 70. And then I'll have to sit there and be like, what needs to be expanded, what
Mhm.
actually fits in here, what doesn't. My goal is to finish a draft before school starts in
Mhm.
August, end of August. But this is like the month I'm supposed to finish the draft
Yeah.
so that I can go back and see like what is this thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because yeah, I was gonna say like the I am saying it does sound like you need to just keep following your process because
Yeah.
that is the process that is revealing itself to you. And it doesn't seem like getting even remotely concrete answers to these questions of structure and ideal reader and stuff is going to be beneficial for this process. Like,
Mm.
seems like you just got to write what you write. And what I would recommend is after you write it, give it some time to breathe.
Mm.
Like, don't touch it for a couple weeks, a whole month if you can stand to give it a whole month, and then come back to it, read it with fresh eyes,
Mm.
and ask yourself the questions about ideal reader. It's specifically like there's age stuff, but it's specifically art. How do they best receive information? Will they read this and get what I want them to get? And um, basically looking for that overlap between what it is you want to say and what it is they need to hear for them to walk away from your book being changed in the way you want them to be changed.
And I think that that brings up the more like the question at the crux of the book, which I don't think I can answer, which is like, is this a book of like witnessing someone's stories so that I can
Yeah,
consider my own intuition, or am I teaching someone to activate their intuition? And I
yeah.
feel like I can't answer that yet, but I feel like that's at the crux of like where I'm at. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I have to keep writing to see where I'm headed. And if it
Yeah,
comes, if it's one or the other, or if this is like I tell other people, like sometimes there are various books in us about one topic. Um,
yeah,
so this may just be book one about the thing. But
yeah.
but yeah, because your question made me realize that's the big question I ask myself because it feels like I have to decide, you know, because that
Yeah,
has each one has a
eventually.
different outcome and impact, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. Okay, I'm gonna keep you updated on how things go. Now that I've actually had a conversation with you, I should probably
I'm
go write
excited.
my thing. Go do the writing. Um, all right. So I am going to support Sabrina for about 15 or 20 minutes. And what you shared before we jumped on is you would like a reading in which you explore some questions about your business. And so I was wondering if you could like give me some context around like what's leading you to some of these questions and give me a sense of what the questions are.
Yeah, as soon as I remember what I asked you.
Sure, I can tell you.
Yeah, that would work.
Yeah. Um, where should you pay more attention
Hmm.
to, like finances, client satisfaction, scaling? What should you release? Um, yeah, those are some of the questions you put in
Yeah,
the, yeah.
so the greater context is that I'm always trying to do all the things.
Hmm.
Um, And maybe that's not even fully true. It's not that I'm always trying to do all the things, it's that everything I do, I want to give 150% to, and that's just not realistic.
Mm.
um, no matter how many times I tell myself to take everything one thing at a time, I'm still always juggling a million things. And I have a really hard time prioritizing between all of these things. So my question, like, where should I focus? What should I release? Is really just like, what can I let go and everything will still be okay. Like, I will still be able to pay my rent and find joy in my work, um, and add more color to the bookshelves. Like, I'm not exactly looking for the minimal viable version of my business, but I am aware that I don't have all the energy in the world or all the time in the world. And I don't know what's more important than other things.
All right, so I'll ask this first question. And I always tell people sometimes the answers are vague and you can always ask follow-up. Because I don't know if I've ever told other folks that I help on here, like the more specific the question, the more specific the answer from the records. But sometimes we don't realize what our question is until we receive the answer and we're like, oh, but like I actually had this question.
Mm-hmm.
And so let that be the case too as we like explore this question you have. So just give me a moment. Okay, so there, um, when I came into the records of your business, they always like, and your own records, they give me like landscapes and nature that represent them. And I always tell people sometimes I'll give you a visual or I say something, and if it lands for you, it might just be a message for you. If it doesn't, then just let it go. But when I entered your records, there was like a field of roses. And then when I opened the records of your business, it was like this really beautiful sort of pink, light pink building. And it was like very like see-through. And I almost wanted to call it like a cloud. They're like, no, it's not a cloud, it's a little bit more, has more of like a solid structure, but it feels more permeable, is what they're saying. And when I asked this question, they show me a vision of like the door of the business being shut. I'm like, what does that mean? And they're like, she's forcing something. And they then showed me a vision of like you moving through like the roses field, trying to open the door of the business. But you're like doing that by forcing something that's not in alignment with how the business is built. And so they're asking me to ask you to share if there's anything in the business right now that feels very like forced.
I'm afraid to answer
I see it on the face. I was like, oh, she's not saying nothing.
it.
You gotta just go by your intuition. What was it that
Okay,
came up for you?
you might have to edit this out. It's
Okay.
the summit
Oh, why would we edit it out? I think that's the
because we
beautiful.
want people to come to this
Oh
thing.
no, they should. But I also think that's
Um,
the beauty of being in business. Is like we do a lot of things,
yeah,
and then we have to like figure out if we want to do them again.
when I think about the summit, I do envision this like yearly thing. I want it to grow. I want it to be
Mhm.
a thing, like its own thing. And I don't know that I'm actually the best person to keep doing it.
Mm.
Like the
Why?
forcing piece. You said why?
They're asking me to ask you why.
Because I don't like being in front of everybody. I don't like being the center of attention. I don't want I don't want to become the authority on anything. Like,
Mm.
maybe that's not a completely true statement, but like, if I do turn the BIPOC Author Summit into this big yearly or multiple times a year event and it becomes like my thing and possibly the thing that I'm known for, I don't think I'm gonna like that. It's too much pressure, it's too much visibility. I don't like being perceived constantly. And if it were up to me, I'd be like the behind the scenes person doing stuff. But because my business is just me right now, I am 100% brute forcing even getting this thing out there. Like, I've been so overwhelmed and so stressed out and still really excited to put it on. And I'm excited about all the speakers. Like, there's a lot of positives, but it does feel like I'm forcing it.
So they're asking me to ask you like a question. That you have to decide like, is the business the thing that is here to like help you become the next version of Sabrina? Or is the business just the thing that helps you be able to do something you enjoy in the way that you want? Because that's the big question they're asking. She has to decide that for herself because
That's
the
a good
business
question.
is asking you, are you going to step into this? Is this part of your, they're saying like part of your personal development process? Like, is that why, and they're asking me to share with you, it's like tingles through my whole body. Like my journey of being a business is like actually exploring my spiritual gifts and being in alignment with like my like journey as a priestess, and that no matter what happens in the business, it's like here for my betterment and my greatest good. And it actually makes me better as a
Mm-hmm.
human to be in relationship with, like impacts all these facets of my life. And I agree
Yeah,
to be in relationship with it that way
yeah,
because I tried the other ways where I'm just like working to make my own way and monetize something else I'm good at. And it's like, of course I could do that. I'm a smart girl, but that's not why I signed up to do a business. And so they're
yeah.
saying that's the question you need to answer is like, is the business like your path to like your greatest becoming? Or
Mm-hmm.
is it just the thing that you sign up to do and you enjoy? And they're saying like there's nothing wrong with the other side. It's
Yeah.
just you got to decide which one it is. Because they're saying this fear of visibility is just a decision you have to make and walk the path as kindly with yourself as possible. Because it is going to be hard as you keep walking
Yeah.
that path. But if you know that that's why you decided to build this business in order to help you move through some of those things, then you're going to show up for it.
Yeah.
They're saying, how does
They're
that land?
rude. They're rude.
I know they're really tough. There's sometimes I'm like,
But no, it's
And they're also, before you answer, they're reminding me to remind you that you get to determine the steps of what it looks like to have the summit. So they're saying right now you're focusing on this huge visibility piece and all this stuff, and it's going to be big. And they're like, yo, you ain't even have the first one yet. Could we like
facts.
take it down?
Calm
Like
down.
we know the vision and we know you're more than capable of reaching it. But right now you're stuck on like the sixth, seventh version and you're
Yes.
not yet done doing the first one.
Yeah.
And they say that to you only because it's only as much as you want to make it. They're saying like the
Mm-hmm.
summit is you can still have this huge event and not even be that forward facing in it.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're like, there are tons of summits with people who have 1 million people and they don't nearly have like that many events and, like that are live and they barely have
Yeah.
that many presentations. So you can also choose to what level of visibility you want at what point. And if it takes
Mm-hmm.
time to get there, they're like, be kind with yourself in that journey and
Yeah.
that process. But they are saying to me, like, you're forcing it because you're thinking it has to be this very specific way of how you show up in the world. When in
Mm-hmm.
actuality, it's like, it's just another way that you get to
Yeah.
share with people your love of like books
Mm-hmm.
and they're saying this word of authority really bothers you because
It does.
you're not building a platform of authority. You're building a platform and a summit for connection and communication. And I think they're saying that's what's going to make the summit different than other summits that are about publishing, that are about these other things. And they're like, you get to stand in that. And then you also
Yeah.
get to think about who you get to bring along with you on that journey of building this community piece. How is that landing?
This is all amazing. I appreciate it and I needed to hear it. And they gave you the phrase personal development specifically, which is a thing that I think about and talk about to myself and my husband all the time. Like literally in our wedding vows, we talk about growth as being like a big pillar of our relationship.
It's just
And
so
this
funny.
whole
I almost hesitated to say those words. I'm like, you have to use those words. So just
yeah, no, I'm
remind you
glad you
all,
did. I'm
like,
glad
sometimes we're in resistance to the message. And I'm just telling y'all, if you're channelers or anything, like,
just say
it's
it.
meant, it's just say it because it's what, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like that's probably the thing that stuck out the most to me because it's like, okay, yeah, when you put it that way, that is what I want. I do see I've already grown so much in just being on the business journey that I have been on. And I don't want to stunt that just because I'm afraid of something, of anything. So I will be picking the my business and the summit and everything else that I create over time will be the thing that helps me evolve into the next version of myself, into the next however many versions of myself. And that actually reminds me of the one of the other things you said about um, thinking like so far ahead and the vision being so grand. Like that is an issue that I have. That's the whole like straight A student mindset. Like I want everything to be perfect. This is my first time doing this, and I want it to be like the best thing that's ever fucking existed. And that's so unrealistic and unfair.
Which is
And
fascinating, y'all, because I was one of Sabrina's last few speakers she added, and I went like on the page with other 7 head links on the bottom, and like everything is like nearly 2/3 of the way done. So like she's saying, "Oh, this is the first time," and but she's already like much farther ahead, so much faster in
I
some ways.
hold
So
myself,
I'm just reminding folks of who you are.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
hold myself to such high standards. Like I want to
yeah.
be great at everything immediately, and
Mhm. And they're like,
it's
and they're saying they're like, you're going to be. I think you underestimate that is what they're saying.
yeah,
When you
thank you.
they're also saying like there's a way in which you can do this in which you can honor your like introversion, that part
Yeah,
of you that wants to not always be in front of the room, the only person who has a voice, and that's actually really important to your mission. And that you're gonna find special ways to do that with the summit. And they're showing me like examples of other people who host summits and they host the summit with someone else, or they host the summit
mm,
and then they bring in like they're showing me this person hosts the summit and they bring in someone to do this exercise and they hold the space for a live session. Then they bring in this other person. And it's not a presentation, it's like it's a live session and that host
yeah,
is there, but they're also in partnership with other experts who are helping them facilitate that space. And so they're
yeah,
reminding you like you have that opportunity too, and that that's
mm,
actually what's going to make what you do special. And they're like, so don't see it as like a fear of visibility or not wanting to be forward. It's like, well, you get to then figure out what does authority look like if you're a person who's going to host a summit about this topic. Because if it's not going
mm,
to look like the way other people do, like that's the point. You're working
yeah,
with BIPOC people, they're not going to be open to authority in a way that others are. And that's why you're doing this your way.
mm. I
What
like
came up for
this.
you? Oh, okay.
That's what came up. I was just
Okay.
like, this is so, it's reassuring. And when you stopped talking, like it just kind of felt like something settled inside of me.
Mm.
And it's like, okay, I can breathe a little easier. Like it's really not. It's funny because I keep telling people I'm seeing this as an experiment, but like, am I really seeing it as an experiment?
I mean, from the way you told me what the vision was, that's not an experiment. It's just version
Right.
1.0. Um,
Right. So,
sort of when I said I have an idea of a book.
right. It's like, oh, you have a
Usually
book?
people who have ideas don't have books, technically, right? It's just, it's not yet written. But yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. Anything
Um,
else you want to ask, or you feel like you're complete?
I feel like I'm complete. I'm gonna
Mm.
journal about this. Maybe
Ooh,
go for a walk.
exciting.
Maybe take a
Yeah, I
nap.
encourage that. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I dream really vividly. And my ancestors sometimes give me messages while I dream. So I'm like,
Ooh.
maybe I'll journal a little bit, say
Yeah,
a little bit,
they're
take
telling
a
me do
nap.
that. And then they're also saying like, who are the ancestors who can help you then with the summit? Because they're like, that's one of my big teaching things that I'm trying to figure out how to teach. But they're saying like, it's like there are guides who can hold you as you do the hard things in
Yeah.
business and that they're supposed to. And so if you're already in connection with your ancestors, there might be someone there or someone new that wants to call forward. And they're saying
Yeah.
just intentionally ask for who that might be, and then intentionally ask for them to give you signs of who they
Mhm.
are, how to connect with them in your dreams. You know, because I always say like asking verbally, putting it on paper, um, like activates the field and they'll know you're waiting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I before we got on the call, actually, I pulled some tarot cards. And whenever
Oh.
I pull tarot cards, I'm like, I do specifically talk to my great grandparents. I had four great grandparents for most of my life. I'm down to one.
Oh.
So there's three of them that I call them, and then one grandparent that I only met like maybe twice in my life. Um, but I needed some encouragement. I was going through it earlier today. So I asked them, and whenever I call on them specifically, like they gather me, they tell me what I need. But I got some really encouraging cards. So I got the
Oh,
star,
the star,
and then I got the
which
Ace
is
of Cups,
so the summit energy, right?
right?
Like I see it. Yeah.
And then
What
the
was the
Page of
ace of, what was
Oh,
the
it
ace?
was the Ace of Cups.
Ah,
Yeah, and then the Page of Wands.
oh, so good.
So I was like, they're there, they're listening.
They are.
Yeah.
And they're reminding me to tell you, like, sometimes you can hand it over.
Ooh,
Like
I
it's
like
not
that
always,
idea.
it's not always for you to carry.
Mm,
And they're reminding you like that fear of visibility for someone who's connected with her ancestors, you should know is not just yours. And so you don't have to carry it alone. You don't have to resolve it alone.
mm, interesting. This made me want to go talk to my dad and see
Ooh,
what he remembers about his grandparents.
yes. All righty. Well, thank you so much for being part of my heart to heart conversation and journey and
Yeah.
experience. So as we wrap up, just reminding folks to sign up for the summit. It's
Mhm.
August 13th to 15th. And there will be a link below to sign up for that and for Sabrina's email list. And I will see you all next time. Is there anything you want to share before we close?
Just thank you. This
All
was
right.
amazing. It was really great to be on the receiving end of your
Oh,
energy, honestly. And I had fun.
you too. Thanks for stopping by and allowing me to
Of
support you. All right, we'll see you all next time.